The TFSA is making history in 2025 by finally crossing the $100,000 limit threshold. Let me show you how to make the most of this milestone. In 2025, the contribution limit has increased by $7,000, the same as it was in 2024. Here's a breakdown of the yearly TFSA contribution limits. By 2025, the total TFSA contribution room will be $102,000 for anyone eligible since 2009. This is cumulative, so if you've never contributed before but have been eligible each year, you'll have $102,000 available. I'll explain how to check your eligibility later in this video for the TFSA, but first I want to show you how to unlock the power of a $102,000 TFSA. Let's talk about the incredible strength of having a $102,000 tax-free investment vehicle. To see how much this could grow over time, let's assume a 7% annual rate of return and you making $0 in contributions each year. And you've maxed out your TFSA to $102,000. Now let's take a look at what happens over the long term. In 10 years, that $102,000 grows to around $200,000. So with no extra effort, you've nearly doubled your investment just by letting it grow. In 20 years, your investment reaches almost $395,000, almost 4 times the original amount. This shows how powerful compounding becomes as time grows on. In 30 years, your investment grows even further to $776,000, nearly 8 times your starting amount. And in 40 years, the growth really accelerates, with your $102,000 turning into $1.5 million. That's more than 15 times your initial investment, simply from letting it grow and compounding those returns year after year. This shows how long-term investing and compounding can transform your savings into serious wealth. The longer you let your money grow, the more dramatic the results. Adding in an annual investment. Now let's see what happens if you add just $5,000 a year to that initial $102,000 investment, still growing at a 7% rate of return. Here are the results. In 10 years, your investment grows to around $270,000. Then in 20 years, the total grows to almost $600,000. In 30 years, your investment reaches almost $1.25 million. You've surpassed the $1 million mark, all from steady contributions. Then in 40 years, your total investment reaches a remarkable $2.5 million. By adding just $5,000 a year, you can dramatically increase your wealth over time through the power of compounding. Think of your TFSA limit increase as a high score target in a game. Every year, you level up by getting more and more room to score big on your investments. If you're a spreadsheet nerd like me, I have this spreadsheet available for you to download and play around with the variables yourself on the tools section of my website. I'll also link to it in the description. Be careful of overcontribution penalties. Meet Jennifer. Let's say Jennifer mistakenly contributes $20,000 to her TFSA this year, but her available contribution room is only $8,000. This means that she overcontributed by $12,000. Now, Jennifer will face a 1% penalty on the excess amount of $12,000. That's every month. So every month, $120 is going to penalties. If she doesn't realize her mistake for a full year, she'll be charged $1,440 in penalties over those 12 months. Now think about that. Not only does Jennifer lose $1,440 in penalties, but she also misses out on the potential growth of that money. For instance, if she had invested her contribution within the correct limit, she might have earned around 7% on her $8,000 or $560 over the year. But instead of growing her money, she's losing more than twice that amount to penalties. This example shows just how costly it can be to overcontribute to your TFSA, especially with larger sums. Over-contributing to your TFSA is kind of like eating too much at a buffet. You'll definitely regret it when you step on the scale and see the penalty. If you're worried about making other common TFSA mistakes, make sure to check out this other video on my channel. How to calculate your TFSA contribution room. Method 1 is the quick estimate. Let's say you turned 18 in 2015. To calculate your available TFSA contribution room, you'll need to add up all the yearly TFSA contribution limits from 2015 to 2025 or whatever the current year is. Here's how the limits break down. So the total contribution room for these years is $71,000. Now let's assume you contributed $30,000 to your TFSA over the years. To figure out your available contribution room for 2025, all you have to do is take your total contribution room and minus what you deposited into it. So $71,000 minus 30 equals $41,000 in total contribution room left. Also make sure to account for any withdrawals. If you take out any money, you can add that amount back to your room the following year. Method 2 is to use an online TFSA calculator. If you want to skip the math, you can simply use an online TFSA calculator. These tools are available from many online Canadian publishers, and you can find some links to them on the tools section of our Blueprint site, which I'll link to below as well. All you need to do is input your age, the year you became eligible, your past contributions, and any withdrawals. The calculator will then give you an estimate of your remaining contribution room instantly. I recommend double checking with multiple tools just to make sure that either you didn't make a mistake or there's something wrong with the tool. Method number 3 is to check online with the CRA. For an official CRA verified number, you can log into your CRA My account. Go to the Savings and Pension Plans section where you'll find your TFSA contribution room as of the beginning of the current year. Keep in mind, this number won't reflect any contributions or withdrawals you've made throughout the current year. And here's a pro tip. To avoid over-contributing and facing penalties, it's crucial to track your own TFSA contributions and withdrawals throughout the year. I've actually personally made this mistake before and ended up with some penalties at the end of the year. It's not fun. To make tracking easier, I suggest using tools like Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel to create a custom tracker for your contributions and withdrawals. You can also explore budgeting apps that help you stay on top of your finances. Method number 4 is to call the CRA for contribution room. If you prefer to talk to someone directly, you can simply call CRA's tax information phone service at this number. They can help you figure out your current TFSA contribution room. Just make sure you have your SIN and any other identification ready for verification. TFSA eligibility criteria. Eligibility for a TFSA is based on 3 key factors. First of all, you must be at least 18 or 19 in some provinces to start accumulating contribution room, regardless of when you opened a TFSA. The second factor is you also need to be a Canadian resident, as non-residents can't accumulate new room while abroad. And lastly, you'll need a valid SIN number, which is required to open and contribute to a TFSA. Note that not everyone will qualify for the full $102,000 limit. It depends on when you started being eligible for the TFSA account. Here are some common examples. Example 1, eligible since 2009. Meet Alex. Alex turned 18 in 2009 and has been eligible for a TFSA ever since. By 2025, Alex would have accumulated the full $102,000 in contribution room. Despite not contributing anything to his TFSA so far, he now has the option to invest up to $102,000 tax-free. Since Alex has never used any of his contribution room, he will have the full amount available to him in 2025. The next example is turning 18 in, say, 2015. Meet Sarah. Sarah turned 18 in 2015, so she wasn't eligible to accumulate contribution room before then. Her TFSA contribution room started from 2015 when the limit was $10,000. Here's how Sarah's available room breaks down. By 2015, Sarah will have accumulated $72,000 in total contribution room starting from the year she turned 18. The third example is becoming a Canadian resident in 2020. Take David. David moved to Canada and became a resident in 2020. He started accumulating TFSA contribution room from that year onward. Here's what David's contribution room looks like. Adding all this up, David will have $38,500 in available contribution room by 2025, since he only started accumulating room when he became a resident in 2020. The fourth example is a non-resident status. Here's Emily. Emily lived in Canada and has been contributing to her TFSA since 2012. In 2019, though, she moved abroad to Costa Rica and became a non-resident. By that time, she had accumulated $57,500 in contribution room, including 2019. But after becoming a non-resident, she stopped accumulating new room, so no additional contribution room was added after 2019. Here's what Emily's contribution looked like when she left. So if you add up all these years, the total by 2019 is $48,500. Although Emily can keep her existing TFSA, even though she lives abroad, she won't be able to accumulate new contribution room while she's a non-resident. Making the most of your TFSA isn't just about contributing. Timing your withdrawals is key to maximizing your wealth year after year. Here at Blueprint Financial, we help you develop a TFSA contribution and withdrawal strategy tailored to your specific needs. Visit our website to learn more, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more tips on growing your wealth.